zinc. Many of them are all zinc die cast, and then they are plated. You never knew them. You were using them, but not knowing that these are all zinc die cast. You can make million and million pieces in a unit, a die casting unit. It's a very rapid process. In a few seconds, you can make the casting, take it out, and then send it for trimming, plating, finishing, etc. Let's see the next one. Again, you are seeing attractive components, decorative. Customer wants aesthetic products. An as cast product in a shop floor is okay, but when he buys it from a shop or online or wherever, and he wants to use it, they should look attractive. And then this attractive is one feature, but it protects the die casting for a very long time. 40, 50 years, it will last without any breakage or cracks or whatever. That's the beauty of this product. Decorative finishes you can have, maybe gold plated, brass plated, silver plated, and many of the export markets, they are all looking for such products from India, because India is a country where labor is cheap. You've got plenty of metals and resources in the country, zinc or aluminum, and you also have capability for designing them, software and simulation techniques, applications, etc. And the engineers in the country, the technological base that we have. So you have everything. You have to only identify the product, look for the market, make them in million and million numbers, and that's where unit cost of the product comes down. And you're competitive in the world market. China is a big player here. They are getting a lot of subsidies from their government for export. We also have export subsidies in the country, but you can look for this kind of exportable products. And India does, being such a large country with 1.3 billion population, a large automotive sector. There are many other sectors growing in this country, LG India, for home appliances, for instance. So there are many international companies, MNCs operating in the country. So everywhere you can use this kind of decorative or non-decorative die-cast product. Let's go to the next one. In the auto bodies, in the car bodies, you have the rear lamp bezels, the rear lamps, where you have all this die cast, again plated. Normally we go for silver plated look, gray finish. These are all again die cast, again as shown in the slide. Zinc is one metal which is widely die cast. Aluminum is picking up in the world because of its lightweight characteristics, fuel economy in the vehicles, carbon reduction, etc. So whatever was used zinc die cast in the vehicle industry earlier, auto industry, has been taken over by aluminum because it's a lighter material, saves fuel, gives you more mileage. And maybe later magnesium will take over from aluminum also. All the cases the handy cams, projectors, which the various guys carry in their marriages and functions, you must be seeing handy cameras, handy cams. They are also magnesium die cast. The body is magnesium die cast. So this is zinc. Let me go to the next one. I'm going to show you some aluminum also later. Yes, here it is. Yeah, collection of aluminum die cast pieces. All of them go into the vehicle component, vehicle sector, automotive sector. And again, this also can be used in a variety of sectors. And India has got a huge resource base both for aluminum and zinc. They are all aluminum alloys or zinc alloys, which we can all learn later. Today is only half an hour. So I'm just going to run through the important features and characteristics of this industry and the product. Go to the next one, Shiv. Yeah, you can see so many components can be used in a car, all aluminum die cast. Most of them are aluminum die cast, and many of them are all zinc die cast earlier. And once the world wanted reduction of carbon, fuel economy, fuel conservation, etc., the vehicle industry globally and India also switched over to aluminum in a big way. And these kind of substitutions are always there, but the new markets open up for zinc in a different sector. And that's where we have to develop a new market potential, etc. Go to the next one, Shi. Yeah, I think the students are looking at all this. The various metals, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, brass, lead, all this can be given shaping. They can be shaped into various components. You can form them into various components. Variety of processes in industrial metallurgy. You can have them as forged products, sand casting, very primitive. Long time ago we were using. Very slow process, not a very clean process. It was there earlier. Gradually it has gone out of the country. Investment casting is another process, rolling of metals into various shapes, extrusions, aluminum extrusion, etc., which you will be using for your doors and windows. You can also draw the various metals into various components, like wire drawing, for instance, spinning, and then blanking, piercing, powder metallurgy, metal powders, which are shaped into various products. I hope powder metallurgy is one subject, maybe, or one chapter you all would have learned. And lastly, die casting. There are so many processes, depending on the volume, depending on the size, depending on the heaviness or the lightness, you can go for different kinds of processes. Today we are going to talk, both me and Sanjeev Verma later, we are going to concentrate only on die casting. Let me go to the next one. Advantage of die casting, I told you, this is the shortest route from molten metal to the finished product. You melt the metal, the alloy, you melt them in a holding furnace, or there is a furnace which is an integral part of the die casting machine. You will know more about this in a short while from both of us. And the molten alloy, which is given a final shape, almost the final finish. Only a little bit of trimming and cutting, etc., would be there later. So this is the shortest product. And as I told you earlier, these are all rapid production. In a few seconds, milliseconds, components keep on coming from the die casting machine, and you take them for further working. Very high productivity machines and high productivity, high output. That is why it is very competitive. The cost of each component, per unit component, is so low here. And you can make different kinds of shapes, complex shapes. Almost the final shape, near net shape components can be made here. And this process, you can have very close tolerances, accurate components, and the process mechanical properties are maintained here because they are not high temperature operations. Zinc melting point is around 419 degrees centigrade, aluminum will be about 600. The alloy temperatures vary slightly. And you can go for lightweight components, as I told you, with aluminum or magnesium. And you can also have very thin wall sections, very lightweight component with thin wall sections with die casting. All depends on the die design, the various techniques for using for die design. And if you have several functions, suppose you have a casting, you want to have a thread or a screw or whatever, or a nut and bolt or whatever, integral part of the die casting, you can have it in one process. You don't have to two processes. First casting and then the subsequent one where you want to integrate the other piece or whatever. You can combine them, several functions, several components, you can combine them. And it needs minimum finishing, as I told you, almost as cast you are getting. And because it's a high productivity, high speed line, million pieces, etc., in a very short duration. And that is where it becomes very economical component, economical process per se. Let me go to the next one, advantages we have seen. And then let me have a look at why zinc die casting. Temperature, I told you already, 419, 420 degrees in zinc. Alloy will be slightly different. And at that such a low temperature, 419, 420 or whatever, it has got excellent fluidity like water. Fluidity is very essential for getting good components. High quality is die castings, high integrity zinc die casting, which Sanjeev will be talking later. Thin wall, I told you earlier, all this we have seen. Complex shapes we can make. And the dimensions, casting after casting, shot after shot, it is maintained. There is no change in the final dimensions of the component. Properties we talked about, lubricity and the properties are there. Finishability, plateability. Zinc is one metal which has got excellent finishability. You can have variety of plating there. And high productivity we talked about. Low cost, again we talked about that. Anyway, let me go to the next one. Yeah, this is a world picture. Internationally, how much zinc are using. You can see at the bottom you are seeing 2018, the world production was around 13.2 million tons, of which galvanizing zinc coating for protection of steel structure is 58%. That's not our subject today. But if you see the die casting alloy, 14%, the violet portion. So out of the total production in the world, 14% is going for die casting, alloy manufacture, and then into the compound. This is the world picture. See the next slide, you will have the Indian picture. Yeah, you are seeing here the zinc production around, there's a mistake there. India produces around 8 lakh tons, 0.8 million tons. And here you can see die casting 11%. World was 14%. We are doing 7%. So there is a huge potential for developing this market. And that is where this kind of exposures are required. So 7% potential is huge. We have to identify the components of the markets. Let me see the next slide, Shiv. Yeah, there are two processes. Hot chamber die casting, there will be cold chamber die casting machine later. The hot chamber machines are mainly meant for low melting point metals like zinc, like lead, etc. For aluminum, etc. You will have the other one later. You have got this here. One is the die portion. You are seeing the movable die, fixed half and movable half, etc. And then you have a furnace there, the molten metal shown in red there, where you have the metal there. That is the furnace. And you can see inside the red portion, there is another vessel where you have the molten metal and molten zinc, which is pumped through, injected at high pressure into the die cavity. You can see the component in the die cavity portion, and which rapidly solidifies in a few seconds. The die is open and the casting falls. I hope you will have a running video later from Sanjeev's presentation. So this is the hot chamber die casting machine. Shot after shot, in a few seconds, you will be able to get them. Once the die opens, then the die closes, again filling takes place, and this is a rapid process. Let me see the next one. Yeah. Now we are talking about, I was mentioning to you earlier, substitution is a continuous game. Plastics, as you know, all of you know, they are very light. Even that has been replaced by zinc die cast. You can see here a component, a bracket used in a camera. From plastic to zinc die casting with thin wall capability. With proper die design, you can convert this into Zamak 3, which is a zinc alloy, die casting alloy there. So from plastic to zinc die casting. Next one, please. Yeah, here aluminum has been replaced by zinc die cast. This is for mobile. You can see that. And the wall thickness is 0.3 millimeter. That is a thin wall there. And is made out of a high fluidity zinc alloy, die casting alloy. And you never knew the mobile covers are die cast. It was aluminum, can be done in zinc, maybe future or even now is being done in magnesium also. So this is kind of, you never knew this. You have been using every day. Everyone is using mobiles. But there is a piece, die cast piece in your mobile. Next one, please. This is the high fluidity zinc alloy. You can have the slides later from Shiv or me, and you can have a look at this alloy. This is a special alloy which gets filled in no time, and then rapid solidification, die opens, the component comes. So you can have a thin wall section made out of this high fluidity alloy. Let me see the next one. Yeah, now you see brass being replaced by zinc die cast. You can see the part there, the medical device. It was originally made in brass. Brass is an alloy of zinc and copper. Copper is always high priced. Because of that, brass is an expensive alloy, and you can convert from brass products to zinc die cast. And you can see here the cost saving, you can see 500% reduction there. And also the die investment. The die is the very key issue here for various components. In no time, you are able to recover in a matter of 6 months. The whatever cost you incurred in the die making, you have recovered that. So here again, one substitution, brass to zinc. You will see some more here. Maybe the next slide. Yeah. Again, replacing brass. This is an auto connector. Again, from brass to zinc die cast. Shows the next one now. Yeah, a small piece like a microscope or whatever, and you see the finished product, and you see the component there lying by the side. Again, brass has been replaced by zinc eyepiece here. There are many things which I can show, but I'm quickly showing the capability of the process. Plastic being replaced, aluminum being replaced, brass being replaced here. Next one. Again, powder metallurgy. You can see here a component which was made out of zinc powders, zinc dust or whatever you call them. And it has been converted to zinc die cast. It's a crankshaft there, and you can see side by side. The zinc is die cast on the left, and the powder metallurgy part is on the right side. So you can have enormous cost saving because powder metallurgy is not such a rapid manufacturing process, while zinc die casting is a very high speed process. Next one. Yeah, now briefly I'll switch over to aluminum. I was talking to you about zinc. You can have a look at here aluminum, world, India aluminum consumption trends. In the first slide you are seeing casting, 26%. That is the die casting, aluminum die casting portion. And the sectoral consumption you are seeing on the other side, automobile is 18%, and rest of the other sectors are shown there. Automobile is one, there are many other sectors, building, electrical, electronics, medical. There are so many sectors where you can have die cast components. Go to the next one. This is the machine. Earlier you saw an integral part. The melting system was an integral part of the die casting machine. Here you are seeing a ladle where the laborer will take the alloy from a different chamber, different holding furnace. He will pick it up, walk a few feet or whatever, and then he puts into the machine through a ladle, and again it is injected into the die cavity. This is the cold chamber machine for high aluminum melting alloys, as I told you earlier, aluminum, etc. Let's see the next slide. These are the various application areas for aluminum in cars. You can have a look at them, the potential where huge career opportunity, application of die castings. These are all shown in this particular slide. Next one. This is an auto industry, the best year. In 2018, India had the best production. This is a monthly production. Passenger vehicles, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, commercial vehicles, etc. Afterward, last 2 years, auto industry has been really in dumps, has been in a very bad shape for a variety of reasons I cannot discuss today. And not only India, even the global auto industry has had a very bad time. Last 2 years, I hope, little later, a few months later, after the corona dust settles down, they will have enough time to put the industry on track. So this is an excellent performance. But auto industry in 2018, we displaced Germany as the 4th player in the world. China, US, and Japan, and India was the 4th. And now once again, we should get into that slot. India should be a big player in the auto industry. And once auto picks up, auto component industry picks up. Once auto component industry picks up, die casting has a huge market share, has a huge role to play. Next one. You can see here, India displacing Germany 3 years back. We should look for bigger production, maybe displace Japan in the next few years. Maybe we should become 3rd there. All the global players are here in the country, plus domestic players, Tatas and Mahindra, they all have come. So it's a huge market, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, e-rickshaws, cars, tractors, buses, coaches, commercial vehicles, tractors, whatnot. All the global players are there in the country. Next one. So this is a sort of a report, the future of the auto component industry, 2023, their growth projection, they want to achieve 2023, 10 to 12% growth, and the volume turnover is shown there. And the current year growth, which was made about 2-3 years back, 12 to 14% growth was there. Export possibility is shown there, 8 to 10%. And whatever imports have to be done for this sector, alloys or various other things. So this is sort of a future roadmap. Unfortunately, last 2 years, as I mentioned earlier, auto industry, auto components has had a very bad patch. And I hope they'll be able to bounce back in a matter of maybe 9 months or 12 months. And again, we should see that this is a very strong base for India. Next one. Next one. This is the future roadmap for zinc, for instance. I almost come to the final slot of my presentation. Zinc has got a huge opportunity in non-automotive application, bathroom fittings, builders hardware, consumer appliances, there are many other applications. These are all listed there. And aluminum, magnesium, etc., they will have a huge role in the auto sector, plus other sectors also. And then the decorative items and gifts, etc., everyone wants it. Jewelry or whatever, your personal goods, what you're using, like trays, etc., we are showing there. And that's a huge product, a huge market for India and overseas. So this is a sort of a quick rundown I've given about the industry. And everywhere India is doing well in construction, in real estate, infrastructure. Last few years have been bad. That's a different story. But I'm sure the potential is there. We were doing better in auto, construction, infrastructure. Time is, we have lost a lot of time during the COVID-19 period. And we have to catch up, and that's going to take time, not immediately when the industry revives. Maybe I expect by April or so next year, we should be able to put our industry on a sound footing, and India should once again become a big manufacturing hub for the world, auto hub for the world, design hub for the world. And I think with this, I'm going to finish. Next one, Shiv. Yeah, I think I've finished now. So there you have my address, my contact details. We are a 57-year-old body. Shiv mentioned 27 years. It's almost 60 years old in the country, a non-profit technical body, awareness creation, education, manufacturers, customers, government sector, policy planners. We try to educate them, advocate new products, new market. Recycling is one where we are very active. Corrosion protection is another area where we are very active. Today, I'm so happy that I could interact with all the students. Thank you very much, all the students. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The students can type their questions in the chat boxes. We will take the questions later. Now we quickly start our next talk. So I welcome Mr. Sanjeev Verma, who is a businessman, and he is basically into the business of the die casting machinery. So he will take us through the next presentation. Welcome, sir. So I think you will just take care of your own presentation. At your end, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah, let me make you co-host. Just a moment.
Co-speaker.
Yeah. So, yeah, now you can do the screen share at your end.
Okay. Are we good?
Yeah, it is visible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shiv, and thank you, Puk sir, and thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the co-host. So thanks to all of you, and it is a pleasure to share some information with students who are, I believe, in third year or fourth year of BTech. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, and they're all mechanical engineering students, right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, yes, you are audible, Sanjeev.
Okay, good. So, I will take you, this is in continuation to what Pug sir has already presented. And there is a whole gamut. I really like that slide, sir, where you talked about different processes of manufacturing. And I think the students are studying 3D and additive manufacturing. Am I right? Dr. Shiv, they are studying this process, right?
Yes, sir.
And this process, to the best of my knowledge, was added to all the so-called conventional now processes, I think in the year 2000. And it's a very interesting process. And earlier it was used only for polymer-based products, and now it has been extended to metal. And that is how the term 3D and additive, I think the additive encompasses all the metals that are done through the 3D route. And why I'm starting from here is because this 3D process of metal, it is mainly used for rapid prototyping. And I wonder if the students know about this. And this rapid prototyping is kind of trying to see what your real product will look like. But when these products ultimately go into production, then we need faster processes. And one of the processes, as I will refresh your memory, as Pug sir has in the realm of all the processes, that slide, if you remember, where he had made a list of all the metal manufacturing processes. One of the process was die casting. So the present discussion will limit to die casting. And in die casting also, there are many processes. There is gravity, there is low pressure, there is a high pressure die casting, and then there is a combination of gravity and high pressure, which we call as squeeze die casting process. So today we are going to discuss how the we are probably going to focus only on high pressure die casting, which is a subset of the die casting process. And this high pressure, Dr. Shiv, how much
Yes,
is the
sir.
time? How much is the time that is available?
We do have time. We can go beyond 1 as well. Not an issue.
Okay, so that means right now the time is 12:50, and I think I would need time up to 1:20 or 25.
That's fine. That's fine, sir. No issue.
Okay. So this, I will limit myself to 35 minutes approximately. So anyway, continuing from here, as I described, amongst the whole gamut of wide range of manufacturing processes, we are probably today going to discuss the die casting, and amongst die casting, we are going to discuss high pressure die casting mainly. And this is what I want to present through my first slide, that the high pressure die casting is mainly used for making parts out of aluminum, zinc, magnesium, lead, and brass. And then we divide the process into two categories. There are some alloys which have low melting point. All the students there, are you familiar with zinc, magnesium, lead, and brass? You can give me a yes, or you can give me a clap on the message if all of you understand aluminum, zinc, magnesium, lead, and brass. So yes, I don't see any responses. So you people can respond if you understand all these metals. Dr. Shiv, all
Yes,
these
sir.
All the students are familiar with aluminium, zinc.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, they are
And
writing responses in the chat box. Yeah. Yes, they are saying yes.
okay, okay, good. I'm trying to see how I can enable the chat box here. Okay, good. Okay, so these are divided into two ranges, the low melting and the high melting point alloys. So everybody is familiar about melting point. I would single out two metals from this list, as you are seeing on my presentation, zinc and lead. They have melting points around 400 degrees centigrade. Aluminium has the highest melting point, almost near to 800. Similarly with brass, magnesium is slightly less than aluminium, but higher than zinc and lead. So let's single out zinc, magnesium, and lead. They are typically low melting point alloys and they use the process of hot chamber. Hook sir has already explained the meaning of hot chamber, and I will elaborate it a little further. Then there are some other metals like aluminium and brass which are casted through the use of cold chamber process. So let us look at these two processes, and let me also make you understand with respect to melting point how these processes are important. So as you are seeing in this schematic, this is a model, this is just a schematic of the machine. This is the die and this is the furnace. This die and the furnace are both integral part of the machine. While in the cold chamber process, as you will see here, let me just run through, take you to this is the cold chamber process. Now, as you are seeing here, there is no furnace. There is no furnace here. Just compare the two diagrams. The die is similar. The platens are similar. This is the metal that is being poured here, but you don't see a furnace as you saw a furnace here. This furnace is missing. So this is essentially the difference between a hot and a cold process. Hot process means that furnace is a part of the machine, and cold process means that furnace is not part of the machine. This is what you have to remember and understand, and this is the fundamental difference between casting low melting point alloys as compared to high melting point alloys. And the reason for this is that whenever we take alloys which have high melting point inside the machine, because of the high temperature, the machine parts, they tend to degrade much faster than the low melting point alloys where the machine temperature doesn't go very high. I hope till this everything is clear. I will show you a picture of a hot chamber machine. This is the furnace. And this is the die part which you saw here. So compare this. This is the furnace. And there is a pump here which pumps the metal. And this is the die part. Now see the machine. This is the furnace. This is the pump. This is the pump system here inside which you can't see. And there is a die part which you can't see here. This is a hot chamber machine. Let me show you a video. So you are seeing this video here and you can see the furnace. This is the pump. This is the automatic robot which takes out the part. Just watch the cycle again. The part is being taken out. The liquid metal, you can see this liquid metal here. There is a pump which pumps the liquid metal into the die. Then the part is taken out, and this is the hot chamber process. Now, as I had explained earlier, here there is no furnace. Let's see how the machine looks like. And this is the process. I will show you a video later, but these are the essential components of the process. The metal is poured in. There is a piston. The piston pumps the metal into the die, and the metal cools, solidified, and finally the die is the part is ejected here. And let's see if we can get this picture. Okay, here is a picture of the machine. Everything is same. There is a die system here, and there is a pumping system here which pumps the metal. You are not able to see the furnace. So, and this is what essentially the machine looks like. And there is a ladle here. Ladle means is just like a kothali which picks up the metal from the furnace and puts it into the cylinder. Okay, you see this is the ladle. This is the manual representation of the ladle. The metal goes here, and yes, luckily I have a video here. You can go through this. Let's see, we can get it going. As you can see, these are two halves of the die, and you will see the part here. And this is the robot that is going in to pick up the part. The robot has picked up the part now, and it will bring it out. And here is the part that gets dropped on the conveyor. So this is the process. This is a spray which you see after the part has been pulled out. We spray some lubricant, and which is in die casting parlance, it's called a parting agent. We just spray the die. There are air blows. They clean the die and spray the liquid and make the die for the next shot. The die is now ready to receive the next shot of hot metal. Just see it. The die has closed now. You might be wondering why it is taking so long. The metal has already been pumped into the die, and it is now undergoing what we call as cooling. And now the die, the metal is being cooled. Okay, so I think the process is clear. If there are any questions, you can ask later. This is another view of the machine. This is the back side. That was the front side. You can see this is the front side of the machine. This is the back side of the cold chamber machine. The dies are mounted here. This is the pumping system. This is the plunger. The metal is poured somewhere around this point. Okay. Now let me take you to some picture of actual components. What you are seeing here is a part which is made through the hot chamber process. This is made out of zinc. These are some more parts. This full picture which you see is not the part. This is the feeding system. This comprises the feeding system till here. The actual part is this long pipe which you are seeing. These small parts that you see here, they are called overflows. This is a typical cold chamber part that is made out of aluminium. What you see here is called a biscuit. It's part of the feeding system. Till here is the feeding system, and this is the part. This is the actual part. So with these pictures and these machines and these videos shown to you, I hope you have some idea of the hot and the cold chamber process. And let's come to what are the key issues in high pressure die casting. As I've told you, in engineering, there is a great degree of focus in doing things right. And this is what we call as high integrity. High integrity is taken, is a word that is, there are two words they are borrowed from the HR terminology. Normally we say he is a high integrity person, and we take these, we all know the meaning of high integrity. So when we say he is a person of high integrity, we are taking these two words from there and we are adapting this to a process. In engineering, when we say this is a high integrity process, that means it delivers right all the time and every time. This is of very big consequence in engineering, and you might have studied, Dr. Shiv, have the students studied something about statistical quality control? Okay.
Yes, sir. They have this subject or maybe as a topic in industrial engineering. So they have some exposure. Yes, they do have.
So we have to look at high integrity from the standpoint of delivering good quality castings, especially with respect to the Six Sigma, which we talk in statistical quality control. And every process is not perfect. It is subject to some tolerance. And every process must be designed, and we use all our engineering knowledge to make these processes perfect. And the key challenge in making the die casting process perfect is porosity. You might have seen in the previous videos that when the die closes, there is only air inside the die. And when we pump in metal, this air mixes with the metal, and when the metal, liquid metal, comes in contact with the air and the solid metal, there are some gases, and these gases also get trapped, and this is not what we want. We don't want the air or the gas to get trapped inside the solid metal, which we are trying to cast. And this is a very big challenge in die casting. And in die casting terminology, the trapping of air or the generated gases inside the casting is called porosity. So this is a key issue which you must remember if ever you go to a die casting shop and you are supposed to ask an intelligent question. You can ask the shop manager, how do you control porosity? And then he would go on and on and on. So this is one thing which you must remember. Porosity is a key issue in high pressure die casting. And there are several other issues which are listed here, but given the scope of this presentation, I would just run through them, not as a major focus. They're about, the solidification is all about temperature control. It's about the temperature of the die, it's about the temperature of the metal, it's about proper solidification. So these are some other challenges which we face in die casting. And to produce these high integration, high integrity die castings, there is what we call as the high pressure die casting, which I have coined as conventional die casting. And just as 3D and additive printing and the additive manufacturing process, 3D printing and the additive process, they have come as an addition to the conventional processes. Similarly, in die casting, two more processes have come up in addition to the high pressure die casting is vacuum and squeeze. They are processes which are modification of the so-called high pressure or the conventional die casting, where these processes give a better yield in terms of casting by way of lesser porosity and more strength. How in conventional die casting can we achieve the target of high integrity? Well, these are some paradigms which we need to consider. First is the die design, then is the process monitoring, and we use machines, advanced machines with closed loop controls, and we use temperature control on the die. This is how we can get high integrity die castings through the conventional high pressure die casting process. So we'll go on and we'll now look at a process called vacuum die casting. As I told you earlier, the porosity is a very big challenge. We don't want the air to be trapped in the solid metal. I'm not sure if at this stage you will all understand the implication of air trapped, but it's something very simple. Let's say we were expecting a piece of block or our part to just contain metal. Now imagine a situation where this metal would have some quantity of air. Would it not make this part weak? And that is the key criteria, that when there is high degree of porosity in critical cross sections of die casted parts, these parts become weak and they lose their original strength and whatever we designed them for. So to kill out porosity, what we do here is we remove the air from the die before filling the metal. And this is what exactly we are trying to see. They have placed a vacuum valve here and we pull out the air and then we push in the metal. So as you are seeing, the metal is pushed with a very strong velocity, and this is the flow of the metal and this is the flow of air. So they are both complementing each other. The metal is coming in, it is being filled, and the air is going out. And gradually you are seeing the filled metal, and ultimately when the air goes out, you probably would have a casting with very less porosity. So this is what is the vacuum process. Then we are talking of a squeeze process. This is a little difficult to understand unless you see in reality, and I have tried to, it's not as intuitive as the vacuum which I explained to you. Anyway, I will do my best to explain this to you. This is a die as you are seeing here, and we are pouring the metal here. Imagine that this is a pouring mechanism of the liquid metal, and you see that this pouring mechanism tilts. This black portion is the metal. Now this pouring is similar to gravity. Normally in gravity cast, Dr. Shiv, I had discussed with you, students have studied gravity casting, right? And you told me that they have some idea of gravity casting. So this process is similar to gravity casting, where we pour the metal into the open die, and this is the top half of the die. When we close the die, we close the die with high pressure and slow speed. This high pressure and slow speed is similar to the common word squeeze. The English word squeeze means that if we have to squeeze something, we have to go gradually and we have to exert high pressure. That is the meaning, literal meaning of the English word squeeze. So this is where the word squeeze comes in. And with this process, we can eliminate air from the castings. And finally, the casting is ejected. I will take you through a visual presentation of this process. Okay. Okay, just see the squeeze process. This is a squeeze casting machine. Let me explain the structure of the machine to you. This is a furnace which is holding the liquid metal, and this is the pouring mechanism. As I go, it will become more clear. I'll stop in between to explain to you. This is what you are seeing is a ladle. It has picked up the metal from the molten metal from the furnace, from the melting pot of the furnace. You can see that the metal is being poured through this chute into the die. You saw a flash of fire here. That was the liquid metal going into the die. Then you saw the die closing. And I will explain to you how it reduces the porosity just a moment later. Go through this process. Well, with this done, I think you have all seen one cycle of the process. That is how the metal comes into the die. This is the cavity of the die, and then the die closes. And once the die is closed, the hot metal is squeezed. That means it is put under pressure with low speed. Once again, the literal meaning of squeeze. Now you can relate this schematic with the video. You saw the die, you saw the metal going in, then you saw the die closing in, and finally you saw the part being ejected, and the last process was that the part was being pulled out by a robot, which is of course not shown in this schematic. Now, how does it eliminate porosity? Probably you are trying to find answer to this question. It's very simple here. When we poured the metal, the air was already out of the cavity. In the previous process, there is not enough time to take you through this video, but Dr. Shiv has a copy of this presentation. He can explain this to you later. In the previous process, we were closing these two halves first. We were closing this die and this die onto each other first. And when we were closing this die, this air was trapped inside the die. And then we were pumping metal at high pressure. But here we are pouring the metal at normal air pressure. And when we did pour the metal into normal air pressure, and we pushed this and squeezed the metal. It formed into a shape, and this air was not as much as the high pressure, and it been driven out. Therefore, all the critical components of automobile, this is a combination of the gravity and the high pressure process. It's a hybrid process, and thus the word squeeze. Some critical components in automobiles like the rim, the aluminium rim, or the engine block castings, or certain other brake components where we don't want any porosity for reasons of strength. Sometimes we use the squeeze process, or sometimes we also use the low pressure die casting process. Mostly now, because of the cost factors, this is an expensive process. You can't make very, very big parts so conveniently through this process. So in this squeeze, most brake components are made out of squeeze process. Engine blocks and the alloy wheels are made out of the low pressure die casting process. So I hope I have explained the squeeze process. And then now I'll take you through some design techniques that we use to design dies. After all, it looks very simple that you have to put metal into a die, and then you have to close the die, you have to wait for the metal to cool, and there it is, you have your part. But you need to design, you need to look into the flow characteristics of these metals. You need to really look with what velocity you need to pump in the metal. So there are calculations and techniques, and this is what we are going to talk about here. What we are trying to tell you is that all it needs is a good die design, so that the flow of the metal inside is laminar, it is not turbulent. And this is what we call as the systems approach. And we are trying to present here something, it is die casting calculations. So we recommend that there are special softwares to do this. One such software is DC Calc. It calculates the all important process parameters about metal flow, and it tells you how you should design a good die. It is much faster than the manual, and you can evaluate different scenarios quite quickly, and it documents all these process. So through software, we do all these calculations. First, we calculate the feasibility of the process. That means if we want to make a part of 125 grams or 250 grams, we need to calculate what is the size of machine we need. Then to make the flow good inside the die, we need to make the feed system, which is the gating and the runner. We need to calculate our production costs. We need to calculate the loading on the tie bars. We need to make sure there is a good thermal balance. And if we need to do vacuum, we need to calculate the capacity of the vacuum wall that we would like to use. And when we have poured the metal in the die, what we need is the thermal control. We need a programmed cooling of this metal. If we don't cool it properly, as you all understand in metallurgy, if your cooling process is not controlled, the properties of metal change. So here is the picture of one equipment which is used to control the temperature of die, and thus built-in programmed cooling in the die. Then we also need to monitor this process. I have presented here a schematic. These are the two die halves. This is the cavity where we would like the metal to come. This is the shape. This is the feed system. And this is the plunger. This is the ladle which I showed you. And this is the ejector. It's possible to monitor all these parameters through a short monitoring technique. And this is one example. This shows the electronics. And this can be run on a laptop and a desktop, and you can get all the signals. And this is what the screen looks like. You can monitor parameters about the plunger. You can monitor about the vacuum. You can also monitor the cavity. You can monitor the temperatures and so on and so forth. And I would like to show you one example if this video runs. There's some problem with the video, it's not running. Well, that's it for now. And let me just try to show you a video from my record about the this is what this is a screen where you are seeing how we control the plunger speed, the injection speed. You will study later in mechanical engineering that when you need to control a mechanical process, then you need sensors, you need controls, you need servo valves, you need devices that are a mixture of both mechanical movement and where these movements are tracked electronically. So you will see that every mechanical movement about speed and timer and everything is tracked in this machine.
Are you showing a video? It is not visible.
Not visible? Okay.
Yeah, because you need to change the. It is still showing the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to change the screen sharing. I don't think I'm able to, find it.
You can close the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just close it, then run the video.
Okay. Okay, I think now you'll get it. Are you able to see some image?
Yeah, it is there.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. Shiv. So this is an example of how the mechanical devices are combined with the electronic systems to give you a feedback on how the mechanical motions of the machine are tracked on an electronic screen. So see this quickly. It's not long. It's just 30 or 40 seconds. Well, see these beautifully casted parts. They look very good. You don't, if we were talking about porosity. If the air was trapped here, then you would see lot of pinholes on the surface of this casting. But this is a good design of the casting. The casting process is controlled, the temperature is controlled, the cooling is controlled, and hence you see the result of this part that is being produced. Let me tell you what this part is. It is the body of a faucet. You have seen your wash basin sink. There is a long spout. This is the spout which you see here, which is being casted. So with this, I end my presentation, and I will be welcome to receive any questions. And thank you very much. And I hope all of you enjoyed. I think I am very much in time. So, Dr. Shiv.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So the students can quickly type the questions in the chat box. And from earlier presentation, there is a question from Ankita Avasthi to Mr. Pug. Can we use zinc as a bioimplant? How much biocompatible it is? So basically, the implants for human body, the bioimplant, and can we make bioimplants through die casting?
That's a very interesting question, Shiv. For bioplant, zinc is not used. Sometimes titanium, similar materials are used for, compatible materials. Zinc is not used for such bioimplants. Having said that, I want to tell Ankita that zinc has got excellent favorable points towards health of all of us. Zinc is a very essential micronutrient for human bodies, for animals, for plant kingdom, and every day there is a recommended zinc intake through your food and whatever you consume, veg, non-veg, fruit, vegetables, etc. And you also have multivitamin tablets containing zinc. Bico zinc is one. So zinc has got very excellent health aspect, favorable point, but certainly not as a bioimplant. You have to go for other materials. I hope that answers, Shiv.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, some student has, sir, I think Mr. Verma has commented, for implants we need inert materials that don't react with our body. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, and as Pug sir suggested, zinc is a supplement, just like certain other calciums or vitamins that our body needs. It is one essential supplement that our body needs. But it is not an implant because this is what our body needs, it consumes. So if I were to have an implant made of zinc planted in my arm or to keep my bones stable, then gradually my body would consume it in a very, very slow process. So for implants, we need something that will stay there for forever. Like for instance, if you're able to see a video, I have an implant in my arm here. It's been there for almost 25 years. And if I were to x-ray my arm today, I would still see it intact. It's made of titanium. And all kinds of implants use these type of metals which don't react with our body. It's very common to see people having a gold tooth, Gold is something which doesn't react at all. So students have seen somebody having gold tooth. It looks very odd. But people use this in olden days, Okay, pleasure to have some more questions.
Yeah, so any more questions from students? There is a comment from Ankita. Absolutely, sir. Longevity is one of the important parameter before selecting materials for implants. Yeah, that is very true. We cannot just keep the implants sticking out every now and often. Yeah.
Compatibility is the key question.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Stainless steel implants, titanium, these are the normal ones which are compatible with our human body.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So anybody has some more questions?
Okay, if there are not any more questions, I think we can wind up this session.
Shiv, 1 second. Shiv, 1 second.
Yes, sir.
You can share the email ID of Sanjeev Verma and mine with the students. They may
Okay, sir.
have some questions. Let them not feel shy. Let them not feel hesitant to send us an email. Let them send whatever. Like this implant is a very new way of thinking for a material. Let them think about questions, any clarification. Let them contact us through
Okay, sir. Sure.
through you or directly to us. We will be very happy to answer them.
No issue, sir. I will share both the email IDs. No problems at all.
We'll be happy to help these students on any
We would
questions they have. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like your feedback also.
Yeah, feedback they can, I think, immediately write. Can the students write immediately their responses about the talk? Just general responses. Yeah, because in the after the first lecture there were some responses from students like thank you sir for your profitable time, thank you so much sir for giving us your precious time. So there were good responses. So the students are writing now. The session was very interesting, I enjoyed it. This is from Mehtab Alam. So the students can write their responses quickly in next 2-3 minutes. From Harshit Garg, this was great session and very informative, sir.
I do hope that prompts some of you to take die casting as a career. Although, as Sir suggested, people are more interested in, I think, computers, sir, or what? What would you say that? I think additive manufacturing is also very, so to say, very exotic nowadays, but how far it helps in production systems really is a questionable.
Yes, sir. There is good response from the students. So from Shantanu Upadhyay, really helpful, sir. From Akash, Ashish Mishra, sir, great session. From Jitendra Yadav, the session was very interesting and informative by you, sir.
We wish best for all of them.
From we don't want appreciation. Let them send questions.
Yeah, later on. Yeah, because still the die casting as such is not taught in engineering curriculum in a very detailed manner. Although there is a course on manufacturing processes like manufacturing process 1, manufacturing process 2. So they study die casting either in very brief and largely they cover the sand casting part. But definitely they can share the questions later on through email. Yeah, so that is always there.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. I think now we have to wind up. So thank you, Mr. Pug. Thank you, Mr. Verma, for your valuable time. And
yes, thanks to you, Dr. Dev. Thanks, Pug sir, for giving this opportunity to participate here. It's a pleasure to be with young people, and we'll be happy, as Pug sir said, to answer their questions, queries, not only technical, but even if they want to pursue a career or future in die casting, we'll be happy to help. Always there. Thank you.
Absolutely,
thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank you all the participants, my faculty colleagues, Ranjan, Naseem, Gaurav, Ankita, Shatrughan, Abhishek. So thank you very much. Thank you all. Goodbye. Now you can leave the meeting. So see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Goodbye all.
Thank you. Thank you.